Okay, folks, right, we've not got a lot out today, so I'm going to chew on this one in. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm going to talk pretty quickly, quicker than I normally do, because I have a lot to get through, and I don't want it to get too long for you. It's episode, I think it might be episode 6, in what's now going to be a 7-part series, Why Things Were Better in My Day. Is it called that? I think it is. Why All Things Were Better in My Day. And what we're looking at is mainly the 70s. I'm in my 60s now, and I'm saying when I was growing up in the 70s, things were better in my day. Things like TV, film, music, different things on TV like drama, comedy, and all such things. Things like desserts we used to have, sweets we used to have, pop, crisps, everything. If you want to look at some of the others I've done, they cover many of these subjects. I've got 2 subjects to go now. Number 1 is children's TV. We're going to do that one now. We're going to try and nail that one. And then number 2 is comedy series, mainly British comedy. I think it's virtually all British comedy. There's a little smattering of American in there, but it's nearly all British. That's a long list. That'll be a long one, but I don't want it to be too long because people are saying they're getting to be too long and there's too many ads. And the ads are taking too long, and when it comes back in from the ads, they're repeating what I've already said. Well, once is enough for me, folks. You don't want to hear it twice. So that can't be that good for any of you. I do apologise about that. So we'll try to keep this one down to half an hour. And all I'll do, I'll mention loads of different shows that you will have seen, or might have seen, primarily in the 70s. I'm going to be throwing some in for probably the 50s and 60s. I'm talking of kiddies TV from when I was growing up. And the old black and white stuff was before the 70s. And I'm bringing bits in from probably the very, very, very early 80s, 81, 82. But because it's kiddie stuff, they might not be anything 81, 82. They might be. There is in the drama stuff. There is in the comedy. They might not be in the kiddies. I can't remember. They won't all be in order as to when they come out, but they'll roughly be that way. And I'm going to mention everything I can think of that I liked. They'll all be things that I watched. With a few of them, I'll pass a comment on certain ones. The comments might not all be right. Some of my observations might be wrong because I wing it. I've got the names of the series here, but there's no research done. I've not wrote down who starred in them and what they were about and how many episodes they did and when it started, what year it aired and what year it finished. I've done none of that. They're all things that I seem to remember. So I might say the odd thing wrong, you can pull me up. And the idea being, like the previous 5 videos I've done, if there's anything I've missed off this list that you really, really liked, let me know what it was. And I'll tell you whether I liked it or not. It might be a glaring error of mine. It might be because I just didn't like it, so I didn't put it on there. If there's anything that I say is brilliant that you thought was crap, tell me. That's what it's all about. It's about comment and debate. And your opinion is valued. Right, without any more ado, it's bins on. You're going to get the glare from the light, but I can't do anything about that. But, you know, most of the time I look down because I've got a sheet here with all the names on. So you're going to see more of the thatch, or lack of thatch, than anything else. Right, the kiddie stuff in the UK and the main, I suppose. Right, well, when I was a kid, a young kid, I'd start with your BILL&BENs, your Pinky and Perky, Basil Brush, Watch with Mother, Crackerjack, Jack and Ori, Sooty and Sweep. They were all the staples when I was a young kid. And the bulk of that, or some of it, was black and white. I think a lot could have even been late 50s, not mine 60s, but late 50s, 60s. But it was still on in the 60s and 70s. Mind you, in the 60s, yeah, I'll have seen a lot of that in the 60s. It'll have still been on in the 70s, but I'll remember that from watching it in the 60s. And then you have things like Trumpton, Candlewick Green, Magic Roundabout with all our friend Zebedee. Do you remember that? I remember Zebedee really, really well. All good stuff. I know when I was a kid, 2 of my favourites were probably BILL&BEN and Pinky and Perky when I was a real little kid. Didn't mind the Boom Boom and Basil Brush. And I loved Jack and Ori in the early days. Was it Leslie Crowther, the first one? I think it was Leslie Crowther. I could be wrong. But I know he did it for a good while. I think we also had Ed Stewart, the DJ, I think. Did they have I'll Crush Your Grapes somewhere later? I'd stopped watching it then. I wasn't as keen on him, but I didn't mind old Stewart. So they were the starters. And then we'd go with things like your Thunderbirds, your Captain Scarlet, Fireball XL5, Joe 90, had bins on like me. They were things that sort of all came around at the sort of same kind of time. I mean, I love Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet. For all they're like done on strings and you can see them all moving and you often can see the strings, I just liked them. Thunderbirds was brilliant. I mean, it was one of my all-time faves. And then you'd have Batman. Obviously, that was from America. I used to love that. I always thought Thunderbirds and all the others were, but I think they were all British. Jay Anderson, was he British or not? I don't know. You tell me. But Batman, I loved Batman as a kid. I absolutely loved Batman. I mean, my two favourite toys of all time as a kid, before I was like in my teens and it was more football and rugby, I had a Batmobile, which I absolutely loved. A little black Batmobile about that size and that deep. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I had, what's the other thing I had? I had like about that big. It was a figure like I can't think what they called it. It wasn't a doll or anything. A toy, a toy that marched. It was called Gigantor. Anyway, I don't know if you remember Gigantor. I think they did a cartoon based on Gigantor, and it was weird because I got it bought by somebody that was a relative of my uncle. He wasn't even a relative to me, and he bought it to me. And no one could believe he bought it for me because I wasn't related to him. I wasn't close to him. But I believe he took a shine to me. I'd have only been 4, 5, 6 at the time, but I've always remembered that. And I think it was one of them where you clicked a button on and lights would start flashing and it'd start walking. So what I am telling you, I don't know, but I'm telling you all the same. So yeah, then obviously from I think these were American. We had like the Flintstones, Yogi Bear, the Yogi Bear show. I used to love Yogi Bear. Tom and Jerry, I love Tom and Jerry. I thought they were brilliant. Wacky Races, and then back probably to England. This one I'm guessing. Do you remember H.R. Puff and stuff? Can't remember who was in it. I think Jack Wild was in it. I'm sure Jack Wild was in it. Do you remember it? H.R. Puff and stuff. Dude. H.R. Puff and stuff. Who'd you call when things get tough? H.R. Puff and stuff. You can't get a little, but you can't get enough. I think that was the song. I know it was sung in tune. I always say that when I sing anything. I think that was the song. And now I remember that I do not know. I started to do this list about 4 days ago when H.R. Puff and stuff came to me. And then that tune did, and I thought, how can I not remember somebody's name from yesterday? And I can remember that because I'm sure that was the tune. And I'm pretty sure Jack Wild was in it. And I'm pretty sure it was centred on a witch with a crooked nose and a black doofy job, black hat on. I'm pretty sure, but somebody will be able to tell me more. Black Beauty. Oh, it was alright, it was Black Beauty. Now, Follyfoot Farm. It wasn't something I can say I loved and really watched, but I've always remembered it because we had a mate of ours that 10 years after that was on, 5 years after that was on, was in a band, and he looked very much like the lead in Follyfoot Farm. Don't really remember Follyfoot Farm, I remember the name, but I think I did watch it. Can't remember whether or not I liked it. I Dream of Jeannie, we're in America now, great stuff. The Beverly Hillbillies, used to love the Beverly Hillbillies, I loved it. The song at the start, I'm not going to sing you that one, you've already had enough. Just a brilliant song. From the start, you're like on, you're waiting for it, the song comes on, just brilliant. I loved the Beverly Hillbillies. Lucy, I think she's done Lucy. I Love Lucy, the Lucille Ball show. I think they did Lucy and Desi, and they had about 5 incarnations of it. So Lucille Ball, love that. Do you remember one called Gilligan's Island? That's one of the first comedies I ever remember. And I don't remember it well. I can see now in my head the guy that was in it that played Gilligan. I can see him. And Alan Hale might have been in it as well, but I don't know more about him in a moment because I added him to the list a bit later. But Gilligan's Island, I used to love it, but I don't remember it. I know as a kid that was something I really enjoyed, but as I say, I don't remember anything about it other than they were what's it on an island? What's the word? Shipwrecks or whatever on an island. I used to love it, but I don't remember it. So Gilligan's Island was one of them. In case it's not on this list, but I think it is. Oh yeah, it is, but I'll bring it forward. I mentioned Alan Hale, maybe he wasn't in that, but I think he was. And then I'm thinking only day before he said, hey, Casey Jones. I love Casey Jones. Do you remember Casey Jones? Casey Jones, da-da-da-da-da-da, Casey Jones. You never have to guess when you hear the tooting of the whistle. It's Casey at the throttle of the Cannonball Express. I said throttle there, but I missed it. You missed that. I missed that. So I remember that. I looked to see when that came out. I think it said 1956. I couldn't believe it. I used to love Casey Jones. Loved it. Thought it was brilliant. So there's another kiddies one for you. And then Bewitched. A bit like I Dream of Jeannie, love that. Is that the one that had Laurie Agnew in it? I think it was. Or was he in I Dream of Jeannie? I can't remember. I think he was in I Dream of Jeannie. But you'll tell me. I think it was I Dream of Jeannie, I'm sure it was. Bewitched. The Munsters. The upgrade on the Munsters. The Addams Family. Both very similar, but Addams Family was probably the bigger show. I've mentioned Batman. Flipper. We had one from Great Britain. I don't know if you remember it. I think when I was a kid, I really enjoyed it. I think when I was a kid of 12 or 13, I think. But I remember nothing about it. This came to mind only yesterday, so I added it to the list. Do you remember one called The Tomorrow People? I think it was on ITV, 5:15 at night, maybe before the news. I think it was really good, but I can't remember it properly. Yeah, The Tomorrow People. The Banana Splits, you remember that? I used to love the Banana Splits on a Saturday morning. I think they had a couple of these shows on there. Was Shazam, and I think there's a film about that now, and Journey to the Centre of the Earth. Do you remember that? Arnie Sacknerson. I remember that really well because my best mate's younger brother used to always be on about Arnie Sacknerson. He just loved the name. I think they were on the Banana Splits. And then other Saturdays you'd have, was it the Double Deckers? Now I think it was the Banana Splits that had Shazam and Journey to the Centre of the Earth on. They had lots of different cartoons on there on the Banana Splits. Double Deckers, I can't remember what they had on that, but they were both alright. What else have we got? Top Cat, like Top Cat. And then we've got the only one that's not from GB or America, Skippy, the bush kangaroo, all the way from Oz. Do you remember Skippy? We all remember Skippy, don't we? Little House on the Prairie, Blue Peter, Magpie. Now, Jenny Hanley from Magpie, she had a pub in Reading. I don't know if anybody knows this. You probably will if you live in that neck of the woods. She had a pub in Reading, just over the bridge. When I was a kid, my greatest couple of weeks holidays ever in my lifetime as a kid was the first time I went to the Reading Rock Festival. I say Rock Festival, there was a lot of punk on the Friday night, and it was rock Saturday, Sunday, if memory serves. And we went to Rock Festival there, and it was on the bank of the Thames. We was actually swimming in the Thames drunk on the Friday, Saturday. Not very clever really, but we were. And anyway, as you came out of the campsite and went over the bridge over the Thames there was a pub down the left, and it was Jenny Hanley's. That is the place where I got probably the most drunk I've ever been in my life. I had the most I've ever drunk in my life. I had God knows how many pints from about 12 o'clock till about 4 o'clock, I think, on the Friday afternoon. Then we went back to base, had something to eat around the campfire, because you'd have campfires then, you know. Went in to see a couple of acts, probably the Jam and the Police or something like that. Still pretty bladdered, don't remember much about it. Then came back home, ran the campfire and started drinking again. As you did. Young, stupid kids, you see. I'd have been about 17 at the time. But yeah, she had a pub there just over the bridge. Can't remember what it's called. Somebody will. Before you got into the campsite, the other side of the bridge, there was a pub on the corner, I'm pretty sure called The Moderation. I think it was. It was a weird pub. It was a biker pub. A lot of bikers went in there. There was no tables and chairs in there. You stood up or you sat down next to the wall on the bare sodden carpet, and you'd stick to it as you were getting up. But I loved it in there. Now I don't know if the tables and chairs were took out just for the rock festival or if it never had tables and chairs in. I don't know that, but I know when we went, no tables and chairs. Very unusual, but I remember it. I mean, memory's not that good. Tiswas, Swap Shop, never Swap Shop for me, always Tiswas. Was it for you? I would imagine most of the people visiting this site will be Tiswas before Swap Shop. Do you remember the series he had on there? My mate first got me into Tiswas. The mate I'm on about and his brother, who loved Arnie Sacknerson, they started watching Tiswas 3 months before me, and they said, you've got to start watching Tiswas, it's brilliant, it's absolutely great. So I started watching it, and they had a soap on there every week. Do you remember, like a weekly soap opera? Do you remember it? I bet you don't remember what it's called. I remember what it's called because it was so weird. It was called Crossdale Street. Do you remember? Crossdale Street. Crossroads, Dale, Emmerdale Street, Coronation Street. Very clever. Crossdale Street. What else? Oh, with old Fred Dinage and old Jack Hargreaves. We mentioned Jack the other day because Out on the Town's on Talking Pictures. I see it the other day. Is it Out of Town? Not Out on the Town. Out of Town, yeah. Animal Magic, old Johnny. Animal Magic, I forgot that one. That got it on. Then Vision On. I forgot Vision On. That got it on. Was it Tony Hart? I think it was. Grange Hill. Somebody mentioned Grange Hill a couple of weeks ago. Grange Hill. And then the daddy of them all for me, Tarzan. I've mentioned him on it before. I think Talking Pictures TV should try to go through that there America and get Tarzan on Talking Pictures TV. That's the Ron Ely one. I remember it used to be on about 5 o'clock on a nightly basis, I think. It might have been not one night a week, it might have been nightly for a whole of a series. Then it'd be off for a while, then another, maybe it was weekly, I don't know. But it was on before the news, I think 5 till 6, if memory serves, on ITV. I still love it. Tarzan with Ron Ely, I loved it. So that for me, folks, was my TV growing up as a kid. I have mentioned some of the American stuff. There was some American stuff I used to watch on there. like your Big Valley, your High Chaparral, bit of Bonanza but not much. I mentioned them the other day in the TV series. But that was what I watched in the main from GB. There's a bit of American thrown in there, but it's mainly British, and that is what I watched. What did you watch? And what's your opinion on the things I've mentioned? Did you like any of them? Did you like all of them? Did you like none of them? What have I forgotten? Tell me what I've forgotten. And tell me out of them what's really, really good and what was crap. And more importantly, this is the biggie, was your Tiswas or Swap Shop? If you were Tiswas, it's a thumbs up from me. If you were Swap Shop, you can stay on the channel and I'll reply to your messages every now and again, but I'll never forget you. I'll never forget who you are, and you'll never be any of my favourite subscribers. You can't have Swap Shop over Tiswas. You can't. You can't. If you do, you'll be the kind of person that likes Mr. Blobby, and I had no time for Blobby, me. No time at all. Anyway, that's it from me. How long did it last? Let me put the bins on. I don't think it was that long. Hey, 15 minutes 50, that's brilliant. I thought it'd be an half an hour, Matt. 50 minutes 50. So, 16 and a half when I finish wittering, that's all it'll be. That's brilliant. I'll tell you what, I'm going to make up for it in the next one. The TV comedy one, honestly, there's miles more on the comedy. Plus, I have a lot more to say about the comedy, because I love comedy, mate. I love comedy. You wouldn't think that. I know I can't crack a smile and I don't make a joke about anything, but I love comedy, mate. I really do. So anyway, see you on the next one. This will be out 9 o'clock tonight. Well, I'm not telling you when it'll be out, because you'll just see it and you'll know it's when it's out, because you'll be watching it. This will be out 9 o'clock tonight, and then I'm going to try to get the other one recorded over the next couple of days. The other one might be out Friday, might be out Saturday, might be out Sunday. Oh, and the good news is, for anyone that watches this, I think the person that couldn't make the Q&A on Monday, they had some personal issues. A friend of theirs has just had a stroke and been not well. And the person that was coming to do the Q&A has been with them in hospital. I think we're recording it tomorrow night, Thursday night. If we do, I'm hoping to have that out Friday. So that could be out Friday. That'll be the Q&A. As I say, it won't be for everyone, but give it a listen, give it a go. You never know. And then maybe Saturday or Sunday we'll get this last one out in the series. What's the series called again? I can't remember. Why All Things Were Better in My Day. And I do believe they were. I really do. Thanks, folks. Thanks for watching. 17 minutes 14. That's not bad.